This is Watch the Media. I'm John Shrader, and a first-time guest, but a longtime associate is with us now. One of our outstanding alums here at the University of Nebraska, College of Journalism and Mass Communications, Joseph Reina. Joe, how are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm a longtime listener, by the way. I don't want that to be lost in this. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, didn't listen just because I was a professor in the college, right?
No, of course not.
Okay,
No.
I'm searching for a little,
Mhm.
here, and it's apparently
No,
working.
great interview skills, great guests on the show. It is a pleasure to be in this seat metaphorically.
Well, you are in the middle of the country, a little farther east in the middle of the country than we are here in Nebraska. You are back home in Milwaukee, and after you graduated from this fine institution 3 years ago, you headed back home, didn't you?
Yep, that is correct. I live downtown Milwaukee, just above the Pfizer Forum where the Bucks play, but more importantly, I'm a block away from where the indoor soccer team in the Major Arena Soccer League plays, the Milwaukee Wave. So my commute to those games is about a block. So very nice. I love being here. My family's here. Dad came here when before I was born in 1970, and our family's been here ever since. So I love it. It's a great place to live, great place to work, and yeah.
What you mean by when you say my dad came here is that he came here from Italy, right?
Sicily. Big
Sicily.
distinction. Yes.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry,
Mhm.
Sicily.
Yes, he emigrated with his family when he was 15 years old, came over here and moved to Milwaukee. We had some family that, it's a long story, but had been in Tampa and then moved up to Milwaukee, and they found a home here downtown, actually not too far away from where I live now.
Immigrants, they get the
Hmm.
job done.
They do.
So, you talked about Major Arena Soccer League, MASL team in Milwaukee. It's sort of what we want to talk about because, well, you work for a local and a regional, national soccer merchandising company, store. What is it? Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it,
a bunch of
you
stores.
sell
There's about
soccer stuff.
60.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. I'm our social media manager for the Wisconsin stores. But we have like 70 stores across the country, New York, California, pretty much everywhere in between.
But you need to scratch that soccer itch, and you need to scratch that soccer broadcasting itch, right?
As much as I can, yeah. So I do a lot of other work on the side with the Major Arena Soccer League. So I'm a staff writer, but I also do a little bit of content creation. So we've got a couple projects that we've been working on the last couple weeks where we mic up coaches. So I'll go on the bench and in the locker rooms with coaches, talk to them, get some good quotes, and produce those videos for social media as well. But yeah, no, for my blog, I do Around the League with Joseph Reina, which is every week I break down the action from the previous match day and talk about what you didn't necessarily see from the game. So I use a lot of in-depth analytics and statistical analysis to give readers a new perspective on a game that has been around for so long and just it doesn't get the recognition and the credit that it deserves, and definitely not the analysis that I have ever seen. So, yeah, I love doing that. It then spurred a little bit of a conversation with the rest of the league about doing a show. So, this past month in January, myself and Mark Litton, a former coach in indoor soccer, different leagues over the course of the years, but Mark Litton and I talk about the sport on our show, Soccer Signal on MASL TV, where we get perspectives from both sides of the glass. So he's, giving the coaching perspective, and I'll give the perspective of a journalist, of an analyst who has, a background in data and stuff. So it's been really fun. We've had 2 episodes so far. They've been very exciting. I love having the conversations with him, and I also talk to coaches from around the league. So having those conversations that normally are, behind closed doors, now that I get to air, that I get to broadcast, it's been really exciting, and I really wouldn't trade it for anything. So the ways that they're doing that is getting into really dangerous positions. So taking shots from inside the box, from overloaded, defensive areas and then transitioning forward. Tacoma has done such a good job of that, but they're not doing it all the time. We've seen one of the stats that I've really been working on in the last couple weeks is game state. So in a couple of their games, I'll flash an example from their game against San Diego on the screen. They did a really good job of dominating the game when the score was tied. So that's what that 0-0 game state is.
Right.
But when the game went, in their favor, when they were leading by a goal, when they were leading by 2 goals, San Diego was much better at dominating that possession. And even when San Diego got a lead of their own, they were dominating possession. So factoring in, when are these moments in the games that they're doing that? Tacoma's doing it when they should be, but not all the time that they should be.
That's great. You work with one of my favorite people in soccer, JP Dellacamera, who, along with a couple of his associates, are the commissioners, the overseers of MASL. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute, if we could. That's what we call a tease in the business, that.
Yes.
But give us the tutorial. Maybe some folks don't know anything about MASL, don't know anything about arena soccer. Give us the elevator pitch about what it is and why it's so damn special to you.
So I'll tell you why it's special to me, because I didn't grow up going to outdoor games. We didn't have a team. We didn't have anything. There was no league presence in Milwaukee for outdoor soccer. And so as somebody who's just always been obsessed with the sport, I grew up going to games, going up the stairs with my dad, with my grandpa, watching those games at the then US Cellular Arena, and it's just never left me. But indoor soccer, for anyone who's never watched it, it's referred to as human pinball, right?
Yes,
and
it is.
It's
for
rapid.
Good reason, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Goals are very common. Games typically finish with around 12 goals combined. So 6 to 8 score line is fairly common. It's immensely talented soccer players who come from a range of different disciplines. So we get people from futsal, which is another small-sided version of soccer, beach soccer, and then outdoor as well. It just blends so well with the skill set from a lot of these different disciplines, and makes for an incredibly entertaining product. It's fast, it's loud. The teams do a great job of putting on an amazing show as well. So I'm lucky to be here in Milwaukee, where they put together an incredible display. And then Kansas City, I've been to games. I've been to Utica. I've been to San Diego. It's just an amazing atmosphere wherever you go. And I'm immensely fortunate to be doing something that I always like to say I'd be doing anyway, even if I wasn't getting paid. But it's such an awesome league. It's such an awesome sport. And I wouldn't be doing anything else, honestly.
I'm going to drop a couple of names in here, and this will tell you how old I am. I have seen indoor soccer in the old NASL days, MISL days. We're not promoting anybody else's league, but guys like Steve Jongol, anybody who cares about indoor soccer knows that name. Preki, holy cow, Preki became American fans became aware of Preki when Major League Soccer was created, but Preki was a legend almost as an indoor player at that time. I think Clavijo played indoor soccer, Fernando Clavijo. I'm trying to think of the great player with the Baltimore Blast years ago. Help me.
Stamenkovic.
There you go. Stan Stamenkovic.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And so there has been sort of a niche interest in indoor soccer, but it competes with the big outdoor show, right? And how do you then compete with the big outdoor show?
That's a great question. I would say from conversations that I've had with general managers, with owners, it's not really something that they think about, at least from the conversations I've had. They compete more with like your basketballs, your hockeys, just because of, when it is during the season. But like, I don't know, there's something unique that happens to players who start playing in indoor soccer and they catch a bug. It doesn't really matter how good they are. They very rarely leave. And that's not an indictment of their talent. as an individual, as a player, there are some guys in this league that I honest to God believe could play in MLS if they really wanted to. Just so talented, and they're here. They're playing in a league that, doesn't get 12, 20,000 fans, like MLS might. It's a bit more raw of an experience. I like to compare it to, IndyCar and Formula One for anyone who likes to watch motor racing. IndyCar is a much more approachable sport. It's a much more approachable enterprise. The content is no worse to anyone who likes the sport, but it's just a little bit more of a raw experience. And going to an indoor soccer game, you get to talk to the players afterwards, get to go onto the field, do autograph sessions. Like, there's just a very unique closeness that you get. And I think indoor soccer has done that really, really well, that you just don't get with MLS or even USL at some levels as well. So there is definitely a niche that they've found. There's always trying to, grow the game a little bit more. And that's part of what we're trying to do at Soccer Signal, is raise the awareness for somebody who might be more in tune with the tactical side of the game. And they just see indoor soccer as oh, it's just crazy. There's no rhyme or reason to anything happening. No, there absolutely is. You can break down tactically. Kansas City likes to do a lot of defending inside their own penalty area. And as a result, the shots that they give up aren't really worth as much as you would expect from a different team. And so Milwaukee likes to counter press. They like to invite pressure in their own defensive end, break through, and then create artificial transitions. These are things that people don't necessarily understand when they see the game at a surface level. They just kind of see, the chaos. And that's awesome. That's great that there's that element to it. But I'm trying to bring a level of, I don't know. I'm struggling to put it into words, but just a level of coverage that has never been there before for this sport.
Where does one find Soccer Signal show that you and Mark Litton do now every week, every couple of weeks? How often do you do it?
It's every other week.
Okay.
It's on MASL TV on YouTube, and then afterwards we'll post it to Spotify as well, but mainly on YouTube.
So if I Google MASL TV on YouTube, I'm going to find it like that.
Mhm.
Bingo, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good. So I recognize some of the names in MASL that are long-standing American soccer names. The San Diego Sockers. You can't think of the San Diego Sockers without Ron Newman, okay? And you can't think of Kansas City, actually, without Ron Newman either. But you've got the Comets in Kansas City. The Tacoma Stars is an old school name. Baltimore Blast, we've already mentioned. Those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. What are the other teams in this league? Who do we look for?
Okay, so I'll start on the East Coast.
You can go down the whole list if you want.
Yeah. Well, there's only 8 this season, but
okay.
On the East Coast, you've got Baltimore Blast and Utica City FC. Harrisburg is also a member of the league. They're playing in the second division this year because they moved to a new arena and they couldn't get dates when they changed. So they're playing in the second division, but they'll be back in the MASL next year. Harrisburg Heat, of course, that's where Christian Pulisic's father, Mark, played back in the day. So there's pictures floating around of Christian playing on the turf with the Harrisburg Heat logo, with the jersey on, with a shirt on.
And we're talking about the capital of Pennsylvania, Harrisburg,
yes,
Pennsylvania.
Yep,
right.
Correct. Yes. So that now they're going to be playing in, I believe it's at Hershey Park in Hershey. So not too far away, but into the middle of the country.
Good, at least.
Yes.
It'll smell good. Yeah.
Yeah. Into the middle of the country, you've got the Kansas City Comets, which you mentioned before, the St. Louis Ambush, and then the Milwaukee Wave. All three are pretty decent legacy franchises. They have good history. The St. Louis Ambush actually just did alumni night where they honored Mark Moser, I believe. And then over on the West Coast, you've got Tacoma up in the north, Empire, which is just outside of Los Angeles in the Ontario area, and then the San Diego Sockers. So it's a very competitive league. I think that's something that this year has really brought to the forefront. With it there only being 8 teams, the talent is so condensed, and as a result, you never know what you're going to get on any given night. Travel is difficult, but I mean that's the case with any league in North America. We just had in MLS, was it Vancouver and Inter Miami had to play in the MLS Cup final, and that was like one of the longest away trips in North American sports. So yeah, it's definitely a unique sport. It's something that is growing, and I think as we continue to enhance the broadcasting and just the little things, JP is doing a great job of that with Keith and Shep Messing, and so I'm just really excited to be here. I don't want to say at the ground level, but as the game is growing, I'm just really happy to be a part of that.
So how did you get involved? I mentioned JP Dellacamera, whom I've known for a long, long time and who I like very much. And so how did you get involved with those guys, this group?
So we happen to know Keith Tozer, who is the commissioner of the league through some families. He's known our family for years. And so I reached out to him about doing some sort of a something once I graduated, but that never really materialized. When I was in college, I got an internship with the 18.com, and I was doing some writing for them for about a year, a little over a year. And during that time, JP reached out and said that he was interested in doing some coverage for the league as maybe a bit of a test run, as they look to expand their, the work that they had on offer from the league. And so I did a piece about the Milwaukee Wave while I was home over winter break. It did pretty well. Got some good interview quotes. Got some good, insight from the people that I talked to. Put together a good piece, and they were impressed, at least enough, I guess. And so when I graduated, I was in touch about continuing that into the new year. And about a week after I got my first full-time position, they reached out and were interested in doing this part-time. And so I started doing that as just a writing thing. And then kind of over the last 3 years, I've kind of added new elements to it. So rather than just doing writing, now I do a little bit of the stats that I talk about. Then I started talking to coaches a little bit more and getting their perspectives on things. And that's kind of where Soccer Signal came. So it's just kind of evolved every single year to now being a significant part of my, attention. I leave work every day and I clock back in to track stats, to go over film, go over video, learn more about the game, talk to new people. I'm actually going to be talking to Ryan Sigich, who's the head of officiating, about our next topic for our show on Soccer Signal about coaches' challenges. It's something that I'm really excited to talk about because I think it's an aspect of the game. It's relatively new, and I don't think that teams have kind of figured out what the strategy is in the same way that we talk about, in football, the teams didn't really know when to go for it on fourth down, and then they slowly started to pick up on it. We're seeing a lot of the same trends happening in indoor soccer where coaches are throwing the challenge, but not really knowing when is the best time. So thinking about it from the perspective of, okay, when are the best times to use that? It's going to be a really exciting conversation.
Joseph Reina is the host. I assume you're probably the producer as well of Soccer Signal, alongside Mark Litton on MASL TV on YouTube. He's with us on Watch the Media. I'm John Shrader. You probably are happy then, as I'm listening to you share with us all the things you do, that you paid attention to how to be a good writer, which you are, and then how to do audio and how to do television, and you didn't angrily walk out of the data analytics class thinking I'll never have to do that stuff ever again. And so you sort of took all of that stuff and mashed it like you have to, right? In this business, at your age, in this business, 3 years out of college, you have to be able to do all that stuff.
Yeah, and I'll always remember it was Bill Dolman in one of our classes who he loved to say, "Got to know a little about a lot and a lot about a little." And that was something that I kind of really honed in on, especially when you're talking about being a writer. But no, I always knew that while I was in college that I wanted to make the best of every opportunity that I possibly could. So trying a little bit of broadcasting, which I was not as good at, unfortunately, but finding a love for writing, finding a love for doing a little bit of broadcasting, production sort of stuff. Yeah, that was definitely something that I knew I was going to take it away, but then, going through all 4 years, it's something you actually have to be willing to do. It's not just like I guess I'll get to that sometime. Like, it's an everyday mindset. You got to be willing to, go to those classes. And it's funny you bring up the data class, actually, because while I was in it, I could not stand it. I did not get it. I was like completely lost. And for the entirety of the semester, just was like kind of doing exactly that. Like, when am I ever going to do this? Like, I cannot possibly think of a use for this. And then we did one final project where we talked about, we could just put together any sort of thing. And I talked about Formula One, which is one of my other passions. And when I finished writing it and I put it all together and I, did all the coding and I did all the embedding and everything, I was like completely blown away by the enhanced ability to tell a story, that's what it all comes down to, is being able to tell a story, and having another medium to do it. So I like to use, some of the same stuff that we have in those classes, a lot of the same code that is pretty easy to plug and play in. But no, a lot of the new stuff that I've learned how to do is just kind of being willing to learn and willing to take it a next step. And so if I do something one way now, tomorrow when I do it again, it's going to be a little bit better, just like, 2% better every single time. And it makes a difference over the course of, a week, a season, 3 seasons. It's kind of funny to look back on some of the stuff that I did when I first was starting out. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I actually hit post on that. But that's anybody in this industry will know that feeling. So
I don't want this to sound like a cliche or any kind of assumptions here, but Joe, you are a son of immigrants, a grandson of immigrants. How did that play into, or how does that play into your love of football, of soccer?
It's huge. I always say, so I'm a Juventus fan. I grew up a Juventus fan. My dad was a Juventus fan. My nonnu, my grandfather, was a Juventus fan. I didn't have a choice, but I didn't need a choice. It just was always like a present thing. So I was given soccer jerseys as a kid. I had a little ball that I beat the hell out of before I could even walk. And I think, especially being an Italian, like, there's just something different about their appreciation for the game. So watching Serie A games, I always like to say my earliest memory, and this is going to sound insane, but I promise it's true. My earliest soccer memory is from the 2006 World Cup when I was 5 years old, watching Italy win the trophy. They, of course, have not won a knockout game since at the World Cup, but that's neither here nor there.
I wasn't going to bring that up. Okay.
No. I will bring it up. I hate it so much. They frustrate me to no end. But yeah, no, watching Italy at that tournament really sparked something in me, and that bug that was there that got me to wake up at 4 a.m. to watch those games in Germany and rewatch games over and over and over again, because we had all of them recorded on our TV, and I would just, like, before games when I was a kid, I'd go and rewatch them, and just, I couldn't get enough of it. It's still there. Like, it never left. It has never left. I hope it never leaves. And I still get the same feeling walking into, UWM Panther Arena over here, Cable Dahmer Arena in Kansas City, the Family Arena in St. Louis. Like, it just is a bug that I cannot shake. And I wouldn't even try to. It's been an amazing ride so far, and I hope that this is just the tip of the iceberg. But no, I think, again, to tie it all back, I'll go to one of my recent memories from indoor soccer, which is the playoffs from last year. San Diego hosted. They just opened a brand new arena owned by the team, which is a first, at least for this iteration of the league. And they hosted the entire first and second round of the playoffs in San Diego on a weekend. And I got to go down there to cover it. And about a week or two before I was set to leave, my dad talked to me and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing this next weekend?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be down in San Diego." And he was like, "You know what? I'm free. I want to go." And I was like, "Oh, well, like, full disclosure, Dad, like, I'm going to be working. This is not like some father-son trip where I get to, sit out on the balcony and talk and go do fun stuff around the city. Like, I'm going to be working for the most of the time while I'm there." And he was like, "No, I don't care. I just want to go." And he got to go. And we got him a spot where he was like right at half field, and we'd check in after every game and talk. And I get it from him. I really do. He has got an incredible bug as well. And he's got a good feel for the game. I remember going to games when I was a kid, and he would tell me, there's always that cliche about like getting yelled at by your dad in the car. But like he would talk to me about, okay, this is why you're trying to do what you're trying to do. This is what you should be doing instead. This is how you can improve. And it was never like, derogatory or anything. I'm very fortunate to have him as a role model, and he's been an incredible influence in all aspects of my life, but especially when it comes to soccer. Like there was no way that I wasn't going to catch it from him.
I will now bring this up carefully as we record this in early February. Italy has not secured a spot in the World Cup yet in 2026. And I believe Northern Ireland, Wales, or Bosnia, somebody, Northern Ireland and maybe those other two, are the path through which Italy has to go. How are the Reinas feeling about this right now?
Yes, my dad, he might be feeling good. You ask me, it's the complete opposite. I'm a complete pessimist when it comes to this sort of thing.
Well, that's your journalism training. That's what it is. You have to think of the dark side. Yeah.
Yes. No, exactly. No, I have seen them miss it in 2018 when they lost to Sweden. And then I thought, it can't get any worse than this. And then in 2021, when they didn't make it for the World Cup in 2022, they lost to Montenegro, I want to say. No, Macedonia, North Macedonia. That's who it was. Significantly worse. And that was the exact same format that they're in right now. I think they play Northern Ireland first, and then the winner of the Wales-Bosnia game. They are not as talented of a team as they were when I was younger. But they still should be able to put together a team that's going to make it to the World Cup, you'd think. They were unlucky to be in a group during the World Cup qualifiers with Norway and Erling Haaland, who is just unstoppable on every level. Mm-hmm. So, it's not without its excuses, but like at a certain point, the buck has to stop somewhere. They've got to make it in at some point. Like, it is kind of insane that I'm 25 years old right now. I have not seen them win a World Cup knockout stage game since I was 5. That is just astonishing, honestly.
Since that first memory of great Italian soccer when you were 5.
Yes.
Right. So
yeah, it was all downhill from there.
and it is shocking, really, that a former world champion nation of soccer misses a World Cup and then misses them back to back. I mean, it really is almost astounding kind of stuff you can't make up, right? You just can't. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A third would be unprecedented.
Oh, I mean, you'd have people moving out of Italy so fast. I mean, they would just, no, they wouldn't. At what point do you think you thought, Joe, that maybe I could work in soccer. I could work in soccer in some business. When did you maybe think that could be a reality?
So I'll go back to my time in high school. I didn't really have a path. I didn't know where I wanted to go. I wasn't an amazing student, to be completely honest with you, and I take ownership of that. And I do remember having a vivid, like, I don't know, 6-month period where I was just like, what am I doing here? And during that time, I tried to lean into my hobbies, lean into my interests, and try to find something that really sparked. And during that time, just completely by happenstance, we had a family friend who came to Thanksgiving with us, and we got to talking. And it was a guy that I had not really connected with before, but he was explaining to me that he went to Northwestern to study sports media and communications. And my mom went to Northwestern, so that was a little bit of a connection there as well. And so I was like, okay, interesting. I didn't really ever think about that as a profession, as a, you know, as an option, really. And the more I started to think about it, the more I was like, okay, well, what would I need to do to do that? And I was like, okay, well, let's see. I would probably need to be somewhat decent at writing, and I like to think that I was at that point too, but like it just wasn't something that I had really honed. So that was something that I pursued fully, was like, okay, let's get solid at writing. Let's get good at writing and put together some solid work. It's funny that we were just talking about Italy. The first piece that I ever wrote that was published. So I don't know if you did your research here, but the first article that I ever published was in a local Italian newspaper that we have here at the Italian Community Center called the Italian Times, where I talked about Italy failing to make it to the World Cup in 2018 and what they would need to do to be back in 2022. And they published it, and I remember seeing it in print with my name on it, and it immediately was like, okay, that's it. That's the bug. I found it. I want to do this. And I put a lot of time into it. I started taking more classes in high school that went into the writing side a little bit more heavily. And then as I started to look at colleges, Nebraska popped up as an opportunity. And when I got to tour, I went to UWM, which is here in Milwaukee. I went to Drake in Iowa, and I went to UNL. And I tried to take the entire campuses as like second. That is not what I'm here for. And when I got to the journalism college in Nebraska, it really took me by surprise. And the stuff that I had been told at other schools was like, oh, you could do that, but like, you know, we'd have to make some arrangements to make that happen. And then when I got to Nebraska, that do from day one was pretty key, and made up my mind almost on the spot. And so that ties into what I was saying before about when I came to Nebraska, I knew I got to take advantage of every single opportunity at my disposal. So doing some writing, doing some photography as well, learning as much about the industry from every angle as I possibly could, so that now, if I go to a game, or if I tell JP or my bosses at the MASL, hey, I'm going to be going to this game, that they can say, hey, can we send you with a camera? Can you go and take pictures? Can you go and do video? Can you do this? Can you do that? And I like to think that I'm pretty well versed at being able to do that at least a decent level, and then leave writing as my strength. And so tying that all in it's tough, but I'm really happy that being at Nebraska like prepared me to be in this position so that I could succeed, because I really don't know if I went to any of the other schools.
You work as a social media manager in a growing career there, and you're balancing that with a media career. How do you do that? How do you make the two work?
You don't. It's tough, man. It is really, really tough. Like I said, I get up in the morning at 6:00, 5:45, going to work at like 7, and then I do about 8 hours there, do what I need to do depending on the day. And then when I finish, I come home, maybe have a little bit of food, and then go back to working. And so do a lot of writing, make sure that I have notes every single week of, the teams that I want to cover. What are some storylines going into every single week that I want to keep an eye on? Knowing where my story is going to be before I get to, Sunday night, and I know that my story is going to be due in a couple days. Okay, well, let's figure out, where is this going to come from? So making sure that I have those guidelines in place, it's really is an everyday thing. So even if I'm only shooting stuff on Tuesday, shooting stuff on Friday or whatever, I'm preparing for interviews, I'm doing research, I'm, looking into backgrounds, pulling on strings and trying to figure out what's at the end of it. And I'll say this as well. One of my favorite things about indoor soccer is any string that you pull, there is something on the end of it. Really, like, there is always an indoor soccer connection. If you're talking about MLS, if you're talking about anything, like, it's kind of crazy how many of these coaches played indoor soccer, or players had parents who played indoor soccer, or grew up playing futsal or something like that. It's kind of insane. So just, yeah, having that understanding of, like, okay, scheduling is really important. Mindset of, I need to get this stuff done. Like, making sure that just in my brain, it doesn't compute that, like, oh, I might not get my story in on time. Like, that doesn't happen. There's no what if. Like, it's just, the story has to get done. So putting together my pieces takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, but I know that the work is good, and I'm really happy about it. I take everything, very personal, because it's who I am. That's just the way that I operate, is making sure that I'm doing the best that I possibly can at any job, regardless of what it is. I think you're muted.
The old broadcast professional didn't turn his microphone on. How do you keep from getting worn out, getting beaten up by it, and make sure that your day job people are still happy with you as well?
I guess I don't really have good advice in this aspect, unfortunately. I just don't. Like, I've done this for a couple years. The first year that I did the MASL stuff, I noticed a little bit of, like, okay, we get into March and February, but it wasn't the typical, like, burnout that you hear about, where you're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to, I'm not feeling it. It wasn't that at all. It was like trying to, you know, come up with those stories. It's difficult. And so I struggled with that, but that was more of I hadn't built my roadmap. I hadn't built my support system that set me up for success quite yet. And so it comes with time. It comes with knowing, okay, how can I, achieve what it is that I want to achieve, and setting that up beforehand so that, you're not anxious. You're not trying to, like, put too much weight on yourself later. It's looking out for future Joe, I guess, is a good way to put it. But like, making sure that I'm setting up myself up for success, and setting real tangible goals, so that when I go through, if I know, okay, by Thursday I have to do this, that by Thursday I do that. Like, that is, it really is paramount, and making sure that we're getting what needs to be done, honestly.
As busy as you are and all the things you have going on, what is the one thing professionally that you would never, ever, ever give up?
Oh my goodness. One thing professionally. Um, that's an incredible question. I don't know if I know how to answer that. There's a lot, and I said it before when I was talking about working for a league, working in a sport that I really love. It might feel like, to somebody who didn't grow up with the background that I did, where indoor soccer was the be all and the end all. It might feel like indoor soccer is like a stepping stone. to the outdoor game, or that it's like it only exists as like somewhere to get good experience so that you can use those skills somewhere bigger. But truly for me, I would do anything to keep like going to Wave games, going to Comets games, Soccer's games, Utica games, and being able to talk with the coaches, being able to talk to players, and like just kind of be in those moments with them. Because that's part of storytelling, is being able to know who these guys are, where they're coming from, what their approach is, so that you're not just like, thinking or speaking in like cliches. There are real stories here. Every single day there's crazy stories, and being able to tell those stories is a gift that it's not lost on me. I don't know if I'd be able to, like, for instance, live somewhere where there isn't an indoor soccer team. Like that is not something that I think I'd be okay with. Nebraska was tough. But even Nebraska, like the Kansas City Comets were down the road. Omaha had a team that I played with for 2 seasons. And so I found my rhythm, found a way to still scratch that itch. But, I can't imagine living somewhere where I couldn't turn up and watch an indoor soccer game regularly.
Human pinball in your life forever. So, well, congratulations, Joe. It's been great chatting with you. I want you to know, I've told you this before, but I want you to know officially how proud I am of you, of the work you do, and the good young man you are. Your family should be proud of you. I know all the folks here in the college are. And best of luck tomorrow, next year, and all the rest of the way. Thanks.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much.
And you've survived your first appearance on Watch the Media, and you were so damn good you might get invited back.
That'd be amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Joseph Reina is the host, producer of Soccer Signal on MASL TV. You can catch it at YouTube, and go to maslsoccer.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
To find
yes.
your other work. And lots of other work is available. Just Google Joseph Reina if you like, and you'll find all of that stuff. So
you might have to scroll through. I think there's a lawyer in Dallas, Texas, who shares my name.
Okay, don't stop at the lawyer and just keep going. Keep going. Yeah.
If you look up Joseph Reina Soccer, you're probably going to find it. I'm josephreina.csv on Twitter, or X, I guess, and Instagram. And I typically will post a lot of my graphics, my writing on there.
Well, great. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. Joe has been with us on Watch the Media. I'm John Shrader.